Hello, I'm Chris Bogue. I'm a writer and video prospecting consultant in Chicago. I write mercifully short content that drives revenue for business and sales professionals. You can find me at my website, christopherbogue.com, or on TikTok at Chris Sells His Soul. The best piece of advice I ever got was actually when I was in college working in a restaurant. And it gets really hectic in a restaurant. People are angry, but bartender always told me whenever stuff was going wrong, they're just people. They're just people. And anytime I get overwhelmed in life, I remember that. They're just people, and people can understand.
Ooh, they're just people. That's pretty simple, man. That's pretty simple. So how is that, now that we're kind of almost through this craziness of the world shifting around and almost to, I guess, what we might consider new, how are you using that, man? How are you using that they're just people as you produce these awesome videos?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this transition to COVID was great in terms of like how I changed my work, because I've done sales for the past 10 years, sales and account management, and I never really cared for the corporate culture. I never really cared for the loud people in shoulder to shoulder in a call center. And when I had to sell on Zoom, I realized that I'm selling to people in their living rooms, right? I'm actually in their home with them. If you think about it, we are in our respective living rooms having a conversation. So when I coach professionals, when I coach corporations, when I'm working myself, I don't work on things like projection, and vocal tonality and all this stuff that they told you about when you're trying to project to a giant room where you got to hit the seats in the back, right? The beauty of selling on video is that you can just talk in your normal speaking voice. And that is the big thing that comes across in my videos is I'm not projecting. I seem just totally at ease because I am.
Wow. That's interesting. I hadn't considered that, Chris, that the difference of the, hey, I'm Phil Gerbishak and you must buy my shit is very different than...
Oh, we can say shit here. Nice.
Sure. Yeah. It's my show, dude. I don't really care. So yeah, for sure. But I mean, truly, it's so interesting to think about that. I mean, you still, right, the microphone has to be close enough that people can hear you, and I'm reaching up, right, and grabbing my microphone here. But otherwise, I mean, projection, you can amplify that. And I would argue that's the same way on stage, but people have missed that because they see that in the back. So, okay, you get that. You are comfortable. Chris, tell me about a time when you sucked on video, man. This can't always have been natural for you, unless you're like some Liberace or something here.
Yeah. So I've done a ton of crappy videos. That's the thing is like when you just make content constantly, like my videos are full of mistakes. I just don't acknowledge them. But yeah, I did, especially when I was first prospecting on video. It was just. I don't know. It's trying to think like a very specific example. Like I have a lot of practice is the thing. I was on TV for a little bit. Steve Harvey of the Steve Harvey Show commented famously on my deer in the headlights look because I was dating a random stranger as part of like this reality TV show endeavor that I found myself in. But yeah, I was kind of famous for this deer in headlights look. And I was always famous for being kind of really intense. Actually, you know what? I can think of the perfect example. I went back and I watched a video of myself when I was 11 years old. And I got in this thing to talk to NASA. They were launching the International Space Station, and I won a competition where I could speak and I could ask NASA a question through this ham radio setup. And I watched the video. We had a reunion recently, and I looked there and I was just terrified. Terrified. My eyes were just, you could tell I was nervous, and I just kind of blurted out my line with this really forceful energy, and then I kind of awkwardly shuffled aside. And I watched that video again about a year ago, and I said, what is that? What is that fear? Why was I so afraid? Why does that fear follow me around? And yeah, it was the fear of failure. It was the fear of like, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe those other 10 kids in the line are going to do the line better than me. And maybe I'm not so great after all. Maybe everyone's going to see that I'm not very special. And, once you fail a lot and you've gone out there, you've dropped and you've hit the net enough times to realize like, oh, you know what, even if it's not up to my personal standards, people don't know, and when you're in sales, when you're making a video, the other person isn't sitting there thinking, wow, that guy didn't make any mistakes when he said that sentence. What a gifted speaker. They're thinking about what I'm asking them to do and whether or not they want to do it. So the words are more important than the actual delivery, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that is important. And delivery is who you are more than anything. You practice that, you get comfortable with that. One of my mentors once said, the key is to be more you. Well, you get that through practice. I mean, sales professionals, if you're prospecting, the first time, of course, it's awkward. I mean, the first time that I did video, I was like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And then you get over it. So, Chris, I know that you coach some of these sales folks and you help them with this. So is that fear of failure? Is that what you think drives them to you so that they can get over that? Or what is it that people come to you for?
I fix two problems, right? The two problems that hold everybody back from making the videos: stage fright and writer's block, right? So either you don't know what to say or you're uncomfortable saying it. You're afraid of you're going to be judged on the way you look, or the fact that you chose to do a video. Some people don't think what they say is worthwhile enough to be in a video. And really what you need is someone that is there for you, that's done it a bunch, that makes you believe that you can do it. And, I always tell companies like, hey, you're shy people. You're people that don't feel comfortable. You're people that aren't up there, with all the bravado that you get from the top closers. Those are the people I love working with. And, I have a very improvisational background. I used to do improvisational corporate training. And really all it's about is creating an environment where you remove the pressure. You get some practice doing, it's kind of like a trust fall, where you're allowed to say anything and no one's going to make you feel bad. Nobody's going to cut you down. I use a lot of humor in my videos, but it's never like a vindictive kind of humor. I'm never trying to laugh at the other person's expense. Even when it's myself, I try not to even be super self-deprecating. I feel there's a lot of cynicism in the world, and I feel like a lot of people go into interactions expecting judgment and criticism. And I have to establish very early on that they're not going to get that from me. And usually that requires me being vulnerable first. If I put myself in a vulnerable situation, if I put myself in a situation where you could hurt me, you could make fun of me, but you don't, it's much easier for the other person to reciprocate.
Yeah, for sure it is. That making it safe, right? Removing the pressure, making it more natural. I mean, that's the goal. If you see people as being in your living room or their living room and you're having a conversation, maybe we're both sitting on the couch and we're just having a chat, it is much less intimidating than thinking of, oh my gosh, there's 10,000 people in the auditorium and my gosh, I'm going to fail. So that's kind of counter advice. I know, I've done a lot of speeches as well, and the joke was, oh, imagine them in the audience in their underwear. Well, that doesn't make me feel any more comfortable. There's still 10,000 people there, but if you're sitting next to me on my couch, oh, well, I can do that. Mm-hmm. I can talk to you there. Or, you're sitting in a chair nearby me. Oh, cool. I mean, that's really what we're doing today, right? We're just having a conversation. It's just you and me. If somebody else joins, that's great. But really, it's focused on me and you, and that does do that. So talk to me a little bit about more about the environment. Are there like different things that should be in an environment or should not be in an environment? I know you're talking about mental environment, but is there physical environment stuff too, Chris, that's important?
Sunlight, videos. If you just get natural sunlight, lighting is hard. It is hard to light a dark room. If you want to do it right, it's going to be burning hot on your face. It's like, as long as you sit in a place where the sun can be on your face, you can get a good shot. And then the big physical thing that it seems obvious to me now, but I didn't realize when I started, but a friend of mine who's a mentor, who's a YouTube star, reminded me, he's like, make sure you flip your camera so you're looking at the lens and not the viewfinder. Look at the back of your camera and look at that lens, because then you can't see yourself. And so often what holds people back is their hangups about their own physical appearance. there's a natural hesitation that comes in when we have to put our image out to the public, right? Like, what if they're going to reject us? What if they're going to tell us that we're not conventionally attractive enough? And when you flip the camera around and you can't see yourself as you're recording the video, you are just looking straight into that lens and no one is looking back at you. So the irony is, if you make a good video, it might get out to 100,000 people, but you're not sitting there staring a crowd of 100,000 people around. You are sitting there by yourself. And in my training, we just let the tape run and you do as many takes as you want, right? And usually we have to go through a little bit of confidence building. I have my camera off so they can hear me coach them, but they cannot see me. So they're not reading into my facial expressions. They're not thinking about my judgment. And yeah, my goal is to just get them totally relaxed. And again, it is counter to a lot of what sales training says, because everyone's like, you have to smile, big smile. I don't even tell the people I work with, I don't even tell them they have to smile. If you force a smile, it can look kind of weird, you know? So if they don't want to smile, yeah, just like that. If they don't want to smile, I don't make them, you know? What I want to do is I want to get them in a mindset where they feel good about themselves, you know? And it's a funny thing because when you do that, the smile kind of comes naturally anyway, you know? And the other advice I see, everybody says, don't script your stuff. Don't use a teleprompter. Don't use a script on the screen. 100% of my stuff on video is scripted. Literally all of it. I have never, ever, ever, ever once had someone accuse me of seeming inauthentic in my videos. Doesn't happen, you know, because I like to say I flip the sales process around. For, you know, traditionally it's like you cold call people. They're just like, what the hell is this? What are you doing? I'm angry at you. And then you try to use all your wits to get permission to send them an email or get permission to send them marketing materials or a video. I flip it backwards. I start on camera, and instead of thinking, how am I going to grind out 100 dials? I think, okay, that person that is perfect for me, that person that will really benefit from what I have to offer, what if they were in my living room right now having coffee with me? And I only had 30 seconds to appeal to them. What could I say that speaks to their goals or speaks to the problems I know they have? What would I say if they were right here? And usually it's not that hard. Usually it's like, hey, I understand this is your priority. My specialty is helping people get on video to bring in new clients. Why don't we have a conversation about it? Why don't we see if this is something that's going to work for you? Camera off, you know? And I could record a bunch of those in one sitting, right? Because I'm pretty much saying the same thing every time. I'm just swapping one or two lines out, right? And, you know, I've got a little cheat sheet there because I've looked you up. I know what your deal is. I know what your tagline is. I know, you know, a little bit about the image that you're putting out there. And, yeah, everything I've done in my life has been very long form. I always was a very long-winded person. And, yeah, making this transition to just like super short, snappy stuff, I found is just way more effective.
Well, we have less tolerance, I think, for garbage than we've ever had before. Some say that the attention spans are lower. I disagree. I mean, people can sit and watch 12 hours of Ted Lasso. It's that they need some sort of stimulation during that time that isn't just, so Chris, I'm really great and my company is awesome. And if you buy my stuff, maybe one day you can be too. Like, that doesn't work anymore. I don't know that it ever did. But I love your point about scripting. And to that point, you know, scripting it out, there's nothing wrong with a script. There's nothing wrong with having something to work from, especially if you've never said it before. So what about practice, though, Chris? How much practice do you need? You scripted it out. I've got something to say. Are most people, I'm not talking about you, but are most people able to hit that the first time? Or what's the average? What are you seeing? What should we expect of ourselves if this is the first time that we've done this?
I mean, if you're prospecting with video, you're going to be sending out like, you know, dozens of videos every week. And it's kind of like anything where, like, let's say you sit down, you're like, I'm going to do 25 videos. Odds are video number 25 is probably going to be higher quality than video number 1, right? Because the more you do it, the more you understand it. Everything that I have done in my videos, I practice in front of a mirror. And I don't do it for that long, but I write the script. I'm usually only, I'm doing a couple lines at a time on camera. So I do memorize my script. And again, what I'm doing on YouTube is not quite the same as video prospecting. On YouTube, I am doing it for a general audience. And I'm entertaining them, right? I'm usually delivering one piece of information. Yeah, I've got to, I'm being funny, and there's a lot more like fancy camera work and stuff. But usually I do the line, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes in front of a mirror maximum, just to see like what kind of energy I want to bring to it. Because again, I'm not always just Mr. Smiley guy. Sometimes I just get real. Sometimes I'll share a vulnerability. Sometimes I'll be deadly serious. And because my audience can see that I'm comfortable enough bringing any emotion to them, when I am up there having fun, when I do have that big smile and I'm just up there playing, it's so much more enjoyable. And yeah, my big thing to people is don't practice being on, practice being neutral. When you're on, people are like, what's this guy about, right? And even like I don't hold it against people, right? Sometimes the camera turns on and there's a person who just, they got to give you something. They got to give you a smile. They got to give you a line. Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Yeah, they got to give you a smile, give you a line. So if I'm totally neutral,
and now I can't hear you. So practice being neutral more than practice being on. Talk to me a little bit more about that, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, neutral. Sorry. So this was a little trick I learned in a theater that did a show called Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind. But it's a theater where you're not allowed to play characters, right? Everybody has to be themselves. It's like radical honesty, right? Everything you say has to be the 100% truth. And yeah, I found out that's actually what an audience responds to, especially in a sales situation, right? They don't want to be outsmarted, right? They don't want to think that you have an agenda. So I just sit there totally neutral in my plain clothes. And when that person opens and they give me a little joke or a little smile, I light up. I go from neutral to enjoying what they offered me. And that's what people are reacting to, right? They're not reacting to the things I'm saying. They're reacting to the way I react to them. And I react to them like I like them, because I do.
That's so simple. That's so simple and yet so complicated, because that's like the opposite of what we're taught. We're certainly not taught to be ourselves, right? No, a good salesperson, Chris, has these 11 qualities, and if they don't have all of them, well, they're not a good salesperson, or they must be the happiest, most energetic person there is. And we all know that's not close to true. So are there any exercises we can do, or any mindset things that we can do to help us get neutral faster, Chris?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things I practice with my clients, and I do some of these practices on my YouTube and my TikTok too. It's a lot easier when you know how to throw the conversation back to the other person, which is an improv thing I learned. It's also a podcasting thing I learned, is like end your sentences. So if you do drills with somebody, if you've got people on your team that you work with, practice throwing a little piece of paper every time you end a sentence. This just gives more opportunities for space in the conversation, right? So it gives the other person can jump in, and it allows you to observe how the points you're making are actually landing, So I don't have to be thinking about what am I projecting here. I'm literally just reacting into the moment to the last thing that somebody said to me. The other thing for being neutral, there's another one I was going to say. Oh yeah, this is what I do to get people warmed up in like a corporate setting. You go off, and I put like 3 minutes on the clock or 5 minutes on the clock, and I say, okay, I want you, Phil, and I'll put you on the spot here. So pick one thing that you know way too much about, right? Something obscure that the average person doesn't know about. Maybe this is season 2 of The Office. Maybe this is the original Mega Man bit. What is something that you know so much about that 99% of people don't care about?
80s professional wrestling.
That's perfect. So what I would do is you and someone else, you'd go pair off, and you would have 5 minutes to explain to them the basics of 80s wrestling. And then we'd flip the script, and then they would be able to do it to you too. And we'd come back and I'd say, what did you learn? And then you would probably have taught them all sorts of cool new things, and you probably got really excited about doing it. And I say, okay, that's the energy we're going to get on this call, right? We're going to get you in that same, like, that is you knowing that what you are saying is right. You are confident in the information that you're giving, and you are consciously explaining it to another person who is also smart, but just doesn't have the same information as you, you know? And that level of expertise, that level of care, that's the energy you want in a really solid sales video.
Wow, that's great, man. So I can think about 80s professional wrestling back when it was real, Chris. Let's be clear. So that's
the glory
that's
days,
the key.
yeah.
Right, the glory days, yeah. When, yeah. Anyway, so that's cool, man. So you mentioned TikTok, and I've got to hear this because I would think TikTok would probably be good practice for doing sales videos. So talk to me a little bit about TikTok and why salespeople, even if they don't have an audience, might want to consider TikTok.
So TikTok teaches you to be compelling in a short amount of time. And for me, TikTok has made me a better video editor because the best stuff on TikTok is like super, super fast. And my stuff on YouTube is pretty quick. That YouTube mentor told me every 15 seconds, you might lose your audience. Right? So every 15 seconds, something happens. I jump to another character, or text appears on screen, or there's a sound or something. Every 15 seconds, something is changing. And on TikTok, that's the same thing, right? It's like the quicker you are, the better, you know, the better your video is probably going to do. Yeah, I can't really describe it other than like it is. I mean, it's basically like people are turning their lives into like little music videos, right? And that's really cool. My thing, my thing that's blowing up right now is like I did the Wolf of Wall Street challenge, right? The sell me this pen, and my style, and this is what I recommend to everybody too. This is a thing I learned in improv. Showing is better than telling, and discovering is better than showing. So. What I try to do in my videos, I don't tell you about a concept. I put you into a situation. And video is a really great way to do that. TikTok is a really great way to do that. An example that I'll give you is accessibility, right? So there's a lot of people out there who are really spreading the word that videos need to have captions, and that, you know, if your videos don't have captions, there's a lot of people who can't access them, right? It's not just deaf people. It's not just people with hearing loss. People are on mute all the time on their headphones. And there's a lot of people who are, you know, understandably upset, and they make people feel very bad about not having captions. But I don't do that. I don't tell people they're bad if they don't have captions on their website. But if I'm making a video about accessibility, I'll do is I'll start making my point, and then all of a sudden the audio drops out. And I'm talking like this, and you can't hear what I'm saying, and there's no captions. And for that brief moment, you've just felt what it feels like to be deaf, right? You want to hear what I'm saying, but I made my words inaccessible. And I don't have to tell you this doesn't feel good because you're sitting there realizing it doesn't feel good. And now maybe you're thinking, maybe I should get some captions on my website. But I find thrusting you into that situation and having the audience be like, oh, I don't like this. Where's this going? It keeps their attention. And it's a really simple way to get my point across without having to just lecture them about it.
Wow. That's an excellent point and an easy way to get things across. I hadn't considered that, and that's super helpful, Chris. So if salespeople are looking to get started here, certainly, of course, you know, they can work with you, but give us some insight into how you'd recommend a sales professional should get started prospecting with short video.
Just do it. I mean, just like, it's obviously it'd be better if you hired me first, right? Because I have a whole process. I can give you KPIs. I can give you the training. I've done lots and lots of video, so I've learned from experience. But like, you know, you already have the words. If you're a sales killer, you probably are already pretty scripted. You know, you're probably saying the same things on most of your discovery calls and most of your demos, right? So hold yourself to a hard 60 seconds. Don't go longer than 60 seconds. See if you can get it down, and just try to get one thing across, right? And that's, you want this person to meet you. You don't have to explain your life story. You don't have to explain all the numbers. You don't have to feature dump on them, but introduce yourself, speak directly to the problem that you know they have, or the values that you know they have, and then have a link to your calendar and say, are you free on Wednesday or Thursday? I'd love to meet with you. So you make the video. YouTube is nice, but you know, there's a lot of solutions out there that are great. Vidyard, Drift, BombBomb. You know, those will help you do it faster. But, you know, when you're starting, it's fine to just use YouTube. And, you know, you can have some fun with a thumbnail too. The thumbnail is really effective. A lot of people do the whiteboard. They hold a whiteboard with a custom message on it. I think that's totally fine. If you write, hey, Phil, please watch this video, you know that I really wrote that to you. I go one step further. I actually create a thumbnail with the person's picture in it. So, little startling at first, but it's an attention getter. And again, I'm selling my services as a video editor in addition to being a video prospecting consultant, right? So my clients, I go to their website, and if there's no video on it, that's the thumbnail. The thumbnail is me on their website next to them. And when you start the video, my background is your website. And I say, hey, Phil, I'm on your website. Notice there's no video here. So I thought I might introduce myself. And it gets people's attention. It gets, if you're in the thumbnail, you're probably going to click that video, right?
Yeah.
And then watch your open rates. That's the other thing, is you make them no matter what you're doing it on. Watch to see your open rates, because if somebody opened my video 8 times, I'm up here. I made it into their head, you know? So now I give them a call, and that's not a cold call anymore. Say, hey, Phil, sent you a video over there. Did you get a chance to watch it? I know you watched it, you know? And then we're talking. Do you need my service or not? If you don't, maybe you know someone who does, you know? But simpler is better. And you know, I worked at a company where they tried to make it into a talent show, basically. And they're like, oh, who can come up with the most creative solution? But this isn't a talent show. Think of it like an elevator pitch that you're doing on Zoom. You know, you are looking at that person. Again, think of it in your living room, or think of it if you're in a bar or something, you know, and that person that you've been trying to reach for months is there at the bar. What would you say to them? You know, wow. If you only had a minute.
Wow. Chris, that's great advice, man. I love all that. You're in the bar, you're in the living room, wherever you're most comfortable, and you're going to have a little 60-second interaction with them. You're going to share a little bit about the problems, what you know, a little bit about that. You want to scare them a little bit. Create a thumbnail with someone's picture on it. I love that. I love watching how many times people open that. And then your last piece of insight, I think, is some of your strongest and certainly encouraging for folks. And that is, simpler videos are better. Don't make it a talent show. Really super great stuff, Chris. So folks, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're thinking, holy crap, I need some help, go to ChristopherBogue.com. That's BOGUE, ChristopherBogue.com. Get to know Chris. Or if you're a TikToker, or you're thinking, oh, well, I probably could be a voyeur on TikTok, certainly check out Chris Sells His Soul. That's his handle. And of course, his YouTube video and all of his information and insights, his packages are available, again, at his website at ChristopherBogue.com. Chris, this has been super enlightening for me. I appreciate that, and I hope the sunshine stays on your face all day long. Thanks, man.
Phil. This is really great being here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for sharing with me, man. I appreciate it.